Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Across 5 years of brewing on this channel, I've made so many decks, played so many decks, and forgotten so many decks that it's time to revisit some of my old favorites. Favorites like my first personal brew I shared on the channel, Kalamax the Stormsire. Though this time at the lead of one of my new style $45 budget bracket 2 decks I like to call Primal Power. This deck is a teamer spell-slinging deck built around casting at least one instant spell on each player's turn for fun and profit, so let's take a look at how Kalamax plays into that strategy. Our commander is a 4-mana 4/4 elemental dinosaur that is just one of the most badass looking legends around. He reads, whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, if Kalamax is tapped, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kalamax, which gives us 3 of my favorite things on one body: a deck building restriction, a challenge, and copying spells. By default, we want to build a very instant heavy deck as we can get basically free value out of casting an instant each turn, so our card draw and our win cons on instants gives us a direction to point in. We also have a challenge to get that rolling as Kalamax has to be tapped. We could do that the old-fashioned way by attacking, but the max here has no evasion. Instead, I want to look at some lands and spells that tap Kalamax for me, getting some risk-free value out of our commander. And lastly, copying spells, something I love and I feel helps break the format. The more value you get from just 2 or 3 mana, the more you can do in the game. Remember, making mana and drawing cards wins games, so if we can do that twice as much as our opponents, we're already ahead. Before I take a look at my old build, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to never miss any of my cool brews. Now, in my original build of the deck, I skewed almost too heavily into spells. I had only about 10 creatures in the list, which often left me feeling like I'm trying to play too defensively since Kalamax is tapped and wasn't doing any blocking. I also had a lot of my nuts and bolts, mana ramp and card draw specifically, on sorceries or enchantments or artifacts rather than on instants where they should be. This often left the deck feeling pretty dirtly, not affecting the board state regularly and just being a pain in the butt. I remember on more than one occasion my opponents prompting me if I wanted to cast a spell in their end step. Hint, I always did. How do I go about changing this? Well, in the time since the first brew, we got a few new Harrow style effects on Rolling Regrowth and Entish Restoration, meaning I can drop Cultivate and Kodama's Reach as some of my key ramp spells. Additionally, we've received quite a few new draw spells that are instants in recent years: Demand Answers, Thrill of Possibility, and Big Score to name a few. All reasons to move my card draw off of Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, especially as I'm intentionally bringing this deck down to a bracket 2 precon level. There's also been quite a few new spell discounting creatures released like Stormcatch Mentor, Haughty Djinn, and Mocking Sprite. All fantastic includes to help bring my instants down to only 1 or 2 mana alongside Goblin Electromancer and Goblin Anarchomancer. Other new creature includes our Party Thrasher that solves 2 problems: a way to get a little bit more reach out of the cards in your hand, and a way to tap Kalamax by giving spells cast from exile Convoke. A big issue with the deck is safely tapping Kalamax, which is where Songcrafter Mage also helps out, giving an instant or sorcery in our yard Harmonize, which lets us tap Kalamax to help cast the spell, turning on his spell copying ability and copying the spell that we're casting. This is in addition to a few more ways to tap the max safely: Springleaf Drum, Relic of Legends, and Honor-Worn Shaku to help make mana, Smuggler's Copter and Cultivator's Caravan to crew vehicles, and lands like Holdout Encampment, Survivor's Settlement, and the new Scene of the Crime let us tap Kalamax for any color mana to cast our spells and enable his spell copying ability. And this is all until Kalamax is big enough to start attacking safely too. The goal here is to, eventually, copy enough spells to make him a big bad threat to opponents' life totals. Those counters add up fast because it's not just copying spells with his ability that puts counters on him. If we copy spells again with an Errant Street Artist, Twinning Staff, or Thousand Year Storm, we put more counters on Kalamax, sometimes 3 or 4 a turn. We also have a lot of ancillary benefits to copying spells like Archmage Emeritus and Stormkiln Artist to help fuel our card draw and mana generation to, trust me when I say, the maximum. One of our win cons in the deck is Storm's Conduit, who pings opponents when we cast or copy spells. If we're casting and copying spells every turn, this turns into a real clock as it adds up to 2 or 3 damage on everything we cast while giving us the ability to copy spells again as a loyalty ability. Though our biggest win con in the deck is usually copying a Comet Storm with a lot of mana sunk into it to deal double or triple damage to our opponents. Since this is the most effective path to victory, we have a few ways to recast Comet Storm 2. Auroral Procession, Eternal Witness, and Songcrafter Mage all come to mind as ways to cast and copy a Comet Storm potentially multiple turns in a row. But there are plenty of other spells to copy in the deck too, from value spells like Planar Genesis, Frantic Search, and Growth Spiral, through to removal stalwarts like Artifact Mutation, Beast Within, and Snap. No matter what you're copying in this deck, the goal is to protect yourself and outpace your opponent's resource generation. Even when drawing too many cards and discarding them, they aren't gone forever, as an Arcane Bombardment can start getting you all of your spells for free every turn when we're casting an instant on each opponent's turn like clockwork. Let me tell you, the feeling of casting a Return of the Wildspeaker or a Commune with Lava with 2 or 3 copies is just, well, it's just the best, isn't it? But this would not be a build your own precon without the Pivot. An alternate commander in the 99 that lets you split into a different build path for a different experience, and Primal Power's Pivot commander is the new Eshki Dragonclaw. Eshki is also a 4-mana 4/4, though this time a human warrior with Vigilance, Trample, and Ward 1. She reads, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eshki. Which is where we get some of the synergy overlap. Where Kalamax wants to be very instant heavy, we get a much more effective punching commander in Eshki if we build a balance of creatures and non-creatures in our deck. This means we don't have to be as reliant on instants and can include more sorceries and enchantments in our list. Like Fey Offering, which is basically Eshki's ability, but triggers at your end step to make you all the good tokens. Also including excellent enhancers like Temur Ascendancy, Garruk's Uprising, and Frostcliff Siege to ensure Eshki has haste, and you can draw cards by including some more, and bigger, creatures in the deck. Creatures like Temur Battlecrier, one of my favorite new releases, helping discount spells cast on your turn, the thing we want to do, by multiple mana just by existing on the battlefield. And we can also capitalize on adventure creatures like Questing Druid, Scaling Viper, and Elusive Otter that act as both spell and creature in one card. Now that's efficiency. We could even work to include more +1/+1 counter synergies in the deck like Hardened Scales, Kami of Whispered Hopes, or Ozolith the Shattered Spire to make Eshki bigger and badder faster. This is a pivot that has you casting 2 spells and attacking every turn. So if that's your vibe, be sure to pack lots of card draw on creature spell cast, like Beast Whisperer, Guardian Project, and the Great Henge. Though that last one is definitely bringing you into the territory of the upgrade. If I were to up the budget of this deck to bring its power level up, where would I start? The biggest budget upgrade to the deck and the biggest power upgrade to the deck are different. As if you're throwing some more dollars at the deck, copying targets like Manamorphose, Nexus of Fate, and Court of Calling are all great applications of some money. Same goes for spells like Flusterstorm, Delayed Blast Fireball, or Legolas's Quick Reflexes to add some extra oomph to your brew. But that's not the biggest power upgrade. The biggest power upgrade comes from infinite combos, as there are a few lines you could take here, like the classic Dualcaster Mage and Clones combo, casting a clone spell like Molten Duplication or Twin Flame on a creature, then flashing in Dualcaster Mage to target the clone spell, copying itself. Then that copy makes a copy of the clone spell targeting itself, and gives you infinite hasty Dualcaster Mages. This whole combo, depending on the clone spells, costs maybe $5 for all the pieces. You could also include infinite copy loops too. With a Storm Conduit out, if you cast any spell copying instant like an Expansion Explosion or Increasing Vengeance and get a copy of it, you can infinitely copy the 2 spells by targeting itself with one of the copies. Ral then pings an opponent for each copy you make, resulting in you taking out each opponent with the combo of just Ral, a copy spell, and a tapped Kalamax. Neat! But let me know in the comments what you would add to any Kalamax deck, and be sure to share your lists in the comments too. Be sure to let me know what other classic Commander mechanic brews you'd like me to revisit for our 5th anniversary too. Be sure to check out both my old deck list and my new budget deck list, linked in the description at my sponsor, Moxfield. Moxfield is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks to specific brackets thanks to their built-in automated bracket detection tools. Never misjudge your decks again, and be sure to follow my profile to never miss any of my brews. If you want to pick up any of the cards for this list, be sure to go to Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC now for 5% off your orders from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. And if you want to sell off your cards, whether they be unused or just duplicates, go to Card Conduit. If you're selling out of anything from Pokemon to Star Wars to Magic, get premium rates for your cards. Ship them unsorted today and get a check in the mail. If you were inspired to brew, you have to hit that subscribe button. Be a gem and check out some of the other videos on the channel right now too. And as always, good luck and have fun!